I'd like to welcome everyone to the Assembly Insurance Committee hearing. This is our first of the current session. I think we're close to having a quorum. We have a quorum now. And because we have a quorum, I think we'll go ahead and take roll at this point.
Daly.
Here.
Beth Gaines. Here. Travis Allen. Calderon. Cooley.
Here.
Cooper. DeBobne. Frazier.
Here.
Gatto. Gonzalez.
Present.
Oh, there she is.
Grove. Mays.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
6, 7.
Thank you, and welcome to our Vice Chair, Beth Gaines, who was a member of the committee last year and is now our Vice Chair. Look forward to working with you. And I want to introduce the committee staff. Most of you are familiar with these faces, but in case you're not, they are Mark Rakich here, Paul Riches, and Tracy Elwell is the committee secretary. So I'll be relying on them a lot, obviously, in the coming months. We have some new members of this committee as well. Shannon Grove has been on the committee in the past, but is back with us, back with the committee. And Mr. Freddie Rodriguez is new to the committee. So welcome, Freddie. Chad Mays, there's Chad, and Chad's new to the committee. So we have committee rules that I'd like to get into, the adoption of the committee rules. Are there any questions on the rules? If not, a motion would be in order.
Second.
There's a motion and second on the committee rules. Let's vote now.
Daly.
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines. Aye. Beth Gaines, aye. Travis Allen. Calderon. Cooley.
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper. DeBobne. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Gonzalez, aye. Grove. Grove, aye. Mays.
Aye.
Mays, aye. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye.
Great, thank you. We'll go now to the remaining parts of the agenda. The consent calendar includes 8 items today. Are there any questions on the consent calendar items? Questions or comments? If not, a motion is in order on the 8 items on the consent calendar.
Second.
So motion and second. Roll call, please.
Daly.
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines.
Aye.
Beth Gaines, aye. Travis Allen. So different. Sorry. Calderon. Cooley.
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper. DeBobne. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto. Gonzalez.
Aye. Sorry.
Gonzalez, aye. Grove.
Aye.
Grove, aye. Mays.
Aye.
Mays, aye. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye.
All right. What was the vote, Tracy?
That would be 7.
7-0. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Cooper. We just finished the consent calendar, Jim. Now the remaining bills will be heard in sign-in order. I see Mr. Chu is here, and I think we'll go ahead and take Mr. Chu's bill. Mr. Calderon not here yet, right? All right. Welcome, Mr. Chu.
Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your consideration of Assembly Bill 438, which would require our California workers' compensation system to comply with our state's language access law to provide services in the languages of the residents that our system is supposed to serve. As you know, California has the largest limited English proficient population in the country. Nearly 20% of our state's population almost 7 million residents. In the early 1970s, our legislature passed the Daimele Aleatori Act to ensure that governmental agencies provide information in relevant languages if a substantial number of the public served by an agency are non-English speaking. The vast majority of our agencies in the state of California are under the Daimele Aleatori Act. However, the State Compensation Insurance Fund was exempted from this act, and the Division of Workers' Compensation within the Department of Industrial Relations has only been required to provide information in English and Spanish. Every single year we have 500,000 work-related injuries that occur. Our workers' comp system is difficult, as we all know, to navigate even if you are a native English speaker. It's critical that any worker who has a serious loss of income or a permanent disability due to work injury be able to access our workers' comp system in their first language. AB 438 would provide much-needed access to state services for our limited English populations. With that, I want to give a moment to Bernardo De La Torre, who is the president of the California Applicant Attorney Association, representing a number of organizations that are supporting this bill, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Chairperson. It's a privilege to be here. We're here in support of a bill that would help injured workers who are not proficient in English. Now, one of the common causes of people coming to attorneys is they don't understand what they got. And so this bill may reduce our workload to an extent, but it would help people to help navigate the system. There's approximately 500,000 work injuries a year, of which approximately 150,000 of those require missed time from work. Of those, about 55,000 of those require permanent disability. Many of them, of those that require permanent disability, many of those never get back to work. And we all know that injuries are, speaking English is not a requirement to having an accident. So when people have accidents and they have no concept of what's going on and they're getting all these letters in the mail telling them with timelines, and they have no idea how to proceed. In my history, most of my clients are Hispanic, about half speak English. I speak Spanish, so it does facilitate it. But I remember I've had a couple of Asian clients, 2 Vietnamese clients who came in with their own interpreter and a stack of letters that they had received. And I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, tell me what these letters mean. So half hour explaining what's going on, and then he tells me, now, what does that mean? I go, I just told you. He goes, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I don't know if their interpreter was correct or where was going. So I wound up taking one of the cases. But this is all too common. And there's no need for it if we have this law from 1972 that simply will apply and will help people navigate the system on their own. Currently, we have a Department of Workers' Compensation who, even though there's a law on the books that requires all their stuff in Spanish, does not translate some of the forms that are required for people who don't go back to work. So, which precludes certain people who were in our workforce, and hopefully this bill would help people remain in the workforce and off of disability or whatnot, or off the poverty rules, and back to work.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Chu, are there any other folks here in support of your bill that you're aware of?
Not at this time.
Move the bill.
Second.
There's a motion and second. I want to make sure there's no one else here who wants to speak either for or against the bill. Any other persons wishing to speak? There's one person. Please state your name and...
Julie Broyles here on behalf of the California Association of Joint Powers Authorities. We bring up only the one issue of the forms and claims administrators. We are self-insured risk management pools for public entities. And our issue is claims administrators, correct forms in the correct language, and compliance with this may lead to, unfortunately, an unintended consequence of adding to their liability for claim audit penalties under 5418 of the Labor Code. It's one of, we don't think it's a major issue of the bill, but we would like to work with the author and with others on making sure that that is if there is penalties that might be imposed, they would not be expanded by this bill.
Thank you for your comments. There's a motion and second to approve this bill. Roll call vote, please.
Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines? No. Beth Gaines, no. Travis Allen? Calderon?
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Cooley?
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper?
Aye.
Cooper, aye. DeBobne?
Aye.
DeBobne, aye. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto? Gonzalez?
Aye.
Gonzalez, aye. Grove? Grove, no. Mays?
No.
Mays, no. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye.
Ms. Grove, I apologize. I didn't see your signal for a question. Would you like to ask your question now to get it on the record?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question. Isn't there something already in law that requires if there's a 5% of the population that speaks a specific language that documents have to be translated in that language? But not if there's like 1 or 2. I mean,
Exactly right. That is a law that we are trying to get this to come under. So right now, under current law, workers' compensation programs are exempted from complying with that particular state law. So my bill would bring into compliance the entire workers' compensation system.
what was the reason for them being exempted in the first
To be honest, we haven't been able to find out under the legislative history why there was an exemption, but as we said, there are 500,000 folks every year who are injured, and obviously in the state of California, it's probably likely 20% of them speak another language and at the moment don't receive information that's in their first language. So that is creating an enormous barrier for them to access workers' compensation services.
So does this reduce that 5%?
It doesn't reduce it at all. It simply says that these programs will comply with the law that every other state agency in the state government has been required to comply with since the 1970s.
Thank you.
Good.
Would that change anyone's votes?
Good for you, Mr. Chu. Good for you. Would you like to, Ms. Grove? Change your vote? Okay.
Happy to speak to folks about this later.
Are you sure? Are you really sure? Good. Thank you, Mr. Chu. Your
Thank you.
bill's out.
Appreciate
Bill's
that,
out.
colleagues.
Thank you. Next in the hopper is Mr. Gomez with AB 908. Welcome, Mr. Gomez.
Thank you. Mr. Chu, he might be new to the assembly, but he's no rookie, right?
That's right. That's right.
He was funny. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'm proud to present Assembly Bill 908 with Assembly Member Autumn Burke. She'll be here shortly. We'll be adding her on as my joint author in the Appropriations Committee,
Okay.
if it gets passed out of here, of course. Assembly Bill 908 will strengthen our state paid family leave program to provide financial security for parents and caregivers who take leave from work to care for their families. In 2004, California paid family leave became California became the first state in the nation to implement a comprehensive paid family leave insurance program. Paid family leave is funded entirely by workers through paycheck deductions and currently provides up to 6 weeks of wage replacement benefits to workers who take time off to care for a seriously ill relative or to bond with a new child. Workers can receive up to 55% of their weekly wage up to a maximum. Over the last 10 years, the program has provided wage replacement benefits to 1.8 million working caregivers, improving the health and well-being of families in California. Studies show when workers have access to paid family leave to take care of their families, ill relatives improve, ill relatives recover more quickly, and nursing home stays and hospitalization stays are delayed or avoided. Women who took paid family leave increased breastfeeding times with their babies. Paid family leave also doubled the number of men who took time to bond with a new child. And we also showed an improvement of of a father's subsequent involvement in a family's life. As stated, the paid family leave is been a huge benefit for working families. However, the program benefits are simply not robust enough to provide true economic security for California's workers. For one, benefits are limited to 6 weeks, and we're asking to increase that to 10 weeks. Moreover, the wage replacement is too low, especially for low-income workers who are already living paycheck to paycheck and need every penny to make ends meet. Imagine trying to take care of a new baby or a sick relative while only getting 55% of your minimum wage, a wage that you're barely making ends meet as it is. Increasing the wage replacement will allow workers who most need the paid family leave to access it. On a personal note, I remember getting sick and when I was a young kid, and my mother and father would often, and I spent about a week in a hospital with pneumonia. And I was there 24/7, and my parents would have to switch off and on who was going to sit there with me to make sure that I was okay, to kind of be there if I needed anything. But they ended up having to give up shifts and give up time to take care of me, and that ended up putting a big financial burden on my family. So it is something that we can avoid today by having a robust paid family leave program. So I look forward to starting this conversation with all of you, with all the stakeholders, and then making sure that when the inevitable challenges that we're all going to face in life come our way, that we will have the security needed to deal with them in a dignified way, but also in a financially secure way, so that our families are not put in a position that my family was when I was a lot younger. Today, I have Jenna Cassidy, Director of the California Work and Family Coalition, Kim Turner, attorney with the Legal Aid Society Employment Law, and David Chase of the Small Business Majority.
Move the bill.
Second.
The chair's recommendation is an aye vote on this. We have a motion and second, and any of you folks are welcome to comment if you'd like on this bill.
Yes, my name is Jenna Cassidy. I direct the California Work and Family Coalition, and we bring together caregivers and parents across the state who are working and who, care for their families from time to time. And this bill is especially important to our caregivers and new parents who, when their children need a really good start in life, it's really important for their parents to be able to be there at a time like that. And I want to concede most of my time to two coalition partners who will speak from the perspective of working parents and also from small businesses, that this is also a benefit to.
Thank you, Jenna. Good morning. My name is Kim Turner, and I'm an attorney with the Legal Aid Society Employment Law Center, a nonprofit public interest legal organization advocating for the employment rights of low-wage workers. I just want to apologize briefly because I will have to depart right after my testimony due to a conflicting hearing for which I am providing testimony. My partners here will be able to answer any questions you may have. Now, I'm honored to be here today to express our strong support for AB 908 and want to thank Assemblymember Gomez for his leadership on this important issue. PFL is a lifeline for working families. As a new first-time mother myself of a 13-month-old, I can tell you PFL made a huge difference in my family, allowing both me and my husband to take time off last year when we could not have otherwise afforded to be with our new baby in the most important times of our lives. However, PFL benefits are limited to 6 weeks per year. Eligible workers can take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave to bond with a new child or care for a serious ill family member under the California Family Rights Act, CFRA, or Family and Medical Leave Act, FEMLA. The shorter duration of wage replacement benefits under PFL means that many workers are forced to take unpaid time off or forgo additional time that they're entitled to because they simply cannot afford it. For example, on our Legal Aid Society Employment Law Center Work and Family Helpline, which receives between 1,000 and 2,000 calls a year from California workers struggling with caregiving obligations, we heard from a new mother who worked at a laundromat. While she was grateful to learn about PFL, she had to return to work as soon as her 6 weeks of PFL were over because it is already extremely difficult to make ends meet with a new baby. She was entitled to take more time off from work to be with her newborn, but she just could not make ends meet. Her story is all too common. PFL's wage replacement rate is too low, especially for low-income workers who live paycheck to paycheck and need every penny to meet their basic needs. Increasing the replacement rate will allow the workers who most need PFL to access it. As Assemblymember Gomez stated, no one should have to choose between being there to take care of a family member who needs them and being able to put food on the table and provide for your family. I respectfully ask for the aye vote, and thank you very much.
Thank you. There are some questions from members. Vice Chair Gaines had a question, and then Mr. Cooley and Ms. Gonzalez. I think they're prepared to answer questions.
Yeah, we can.
Because she has to leave.
Yep. We can handle the questions now.
Yeah.
Let's move.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I wanted to address small business, and is there any exemption in small business? In my district, 95% of our revenue income is generated by small business with employees under 25. So if 2 or 3 employees have this is a problem I have with it, is the 6 to 10 week extension, and I think that's really hard on small business. So I'm good with the income tiered part of it, but it's the 6 to 10 weeks that is just going to devastate small business.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'm David Chase, California Director for Small Business Majority. So our one key thing about this is entirely employee funded. So there's no cost to the employers. It's essentially an insurance pool, so employees are paying into this themselves, and then they're of course the recipients of the funds if they take the time off. And as I think the earlier witnesses already mentioned, the employees are already allowed to already receive the time off. They're already legally given that right to take that time off. It's just not paid. So this doesn't increase the time that they're out necessarily, and there's no cost to the employer.
Also, so there's the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, and then there's California Federal Family Rights Act, right, which guarantees 12 weeks to bond with a new child, but that is specifically if you meet certain criteria, and it only applies to businesses of 50 or more employees. So that's that part. The paid family leave is something different, right? So they're already guaranteed to take that time off if they qualified under the Federal Leave Act and the California Leave Act. But there's no guarantee that they're going to get that wage. So the impact on the small businesses is going to be is going to vary from business to business, right? But it does provide something meaningful where people can actually go back to their place of employment. And as we all know, training new staffers or new employees takes time. So this is, I think, is a smart program because it doesn't take anything out of the employer's pockets, and it's an insurance program that all workers pay into but are not fully utilizing.
So there's a certain workload that my business, just for an example, we have a workload that we have to cover. Taking employees out and stretching the other employees, it does affect small business. Is there an exemption for under 50 in your bill?
I am not, and my bill doesn't change the other criteria of the Paid Family Leave Act in California. All we do is expand the time and make a tiered system of wage replacement so that the lower income folks can actually use it. That's it.
All right, and welcome, Ms. Burke. Mr. Cooley had a question, and then Ms. Gonzalez.
I was more just going to say I think the fact that it's paid for by the employees is the important part of this conversation, and the fact that they've accumulated a surplus. You know, the bill represents just trying to tweak an existing program that's paid for by employees, and I think it represents sort of I would say a positive sort of effort to try to tailor the program to the circumstances of the individuals who've been paying and creating a surplus. So I think it could be that there's a bunch of employees in a single firm that somehow simultaneously are on this particular program, but I think that's pretty remote likelihood. So I mean, the fact that this is employee paid, they've accumulated a surplus, we're trying to tailor the policy to the people who created that surplus. I think that's a very sound idea.
That's a great point, Mr. Cooley. Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud to be a co-author of this bill. It's, you know, we struggle with wondering why low-income families don't sign up for it, but we know you just can't get by on the wage replacement as it is now. I just want to speak to a few things for further discussion in the future, because I love your example of 7 days, but it's a perfect example for one reason. We still have a lapse, even after our sick day law and our paid family leave law, of 4 days without pay, because you do have to wait 7 days. And so I'm hopeful that in the future we can address that gap, at least for people who have to go out on a paid family leave circumstance. So there is still even with this doesn't change the existing law. Our 3-day sick leave leaves a gap of 4 days of unpaid work prior to putting forward. To address the small business aspect, a small business bears no additional responsibility under this law. In fact, there are no protections for workers and businesses under 50 employees to have their job back. That's also what I see as a deficiency in the law, and something I'd like to change. Would probably disagree on that. But what Mr. Gomez and Ms. Burke are doing doesn't change what is currently in existence. We have a fund. All employees have been paying into that fund. We have not been drawing down on that fund because the very people who could benefit from this law, it does not provide enough in wage replacement. So it's a false opportunity. You can stay home with your child. You just can't pay rent. And so what this bill does will increase the amount that they can draw down on. It will strengthen the amount of time that they can spend home with that child, but it's no additional cost. Employees are already paying this, and unfortunately it's underutilized. This is a great fix with no additional burden on business, and I just want to congratulate you on bringing this bill. I am so excited to vote yes.
Well, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez, and thank you for the assist, but for Ms. Gaines, it did answer the specific question, right, regarding 50 or more. If the federal paid family leave law only applies to 50 or more employees, companies with 50 or more employees, anything under that is naturally exempted. The paid family leave law for California doesn't guarantee that you will have your job back if you qualified for the paid family leave law and take it under that. So to answer, I guess, your specific question, is there an exemption in our law? No, but it doesn't apply to small businesses. I hope that helps.
Again, there's a motion and second to approve the bill. The chair's recommendation is an aye vote. We have a couple additional folks who've joined us here at the table. You'd maybe state your name for the record so that we know who you're representing.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Poe. I'm Deputy Director at California Black Health Network, and we're in strong support of this bill. In the African American community, the infant mortality rate is twice the rate of any other race, and we see this paid family leave benefit as a way to decrease the stress and to improve maternal outcomes and birth outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Jessica Bartholow with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. As we said in our letter to the committee, I'm not sure it was in the analysis, I want to reiterate that paid family leave reduces dependency on food stamps for families that receive it. And I know that Assemblymember Mays, Grove, who was a former member of the Human Services Committee, knows that this is a joint goal of both sides of the aisle to reduce dependency on the SNAP program. This program is proven to do that, that a pregnant woman is less likely, 40% less likely to depend on food stamps and welfare if she gets paid family leave after the birth of a child. And we are so excited about the bill, eager to support it. And as a last reminder, over 60% of poor Californians come from working families. Over 60% of poor Californians come from working families. This bill helps to address inequality in our state in a very important way. So thank you to you both for authoring the bill.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Burke, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Paid family leave can be a godsend for families struggling to care for loved ones or hoping to bond with a new child. But when using the benefit means taking 40% of your pay cut, it just doesn't work. As a working mother myself, I can tell you that this update is long overdue. All too often, it's women who have to bear the burden of balancing a career and caregiving. It's our wages that fall behind when we have to put a career on hold, and it's our retirement security that pays the price. Every little bit we can do to help families care for their loved ones and remain in the workplace helps. I'm proud to be a joint author with Mr. Gomez, and I respectfully request your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Mr. DeBobna had a question or comment.
I actually had the privilege of working with Governor Gray Davis in 2002 when this bill was signed. It was actually signed at UCLA when I was a student there as well during the internship. And I remember all the arguments against the state having its own paid family leave. At the time, it was considered a job killer. They said that this program would run a deficit every year. They said that this program wouldn't benefit workers because it actually cost jobs in the state. None of that seems to have panned out. We have a surplus. I've also worked in a children's hospital. When you see parents have to make a decision between being with a sick child or having to go to work to keep their insurance, keep their job, or be able to put food on the table, this is a very easy vote today. I hope it's a bipartisan vote. I hope my Republican colleagues will join me in voting for this bill because this is something where workers pay in every month. We have a surplus. All the arguments that said this would cause a deficit, this would be something that's saddled upon small business and cost jobs. More than a decade has passed. We have a surplus. If this was a tax surplus, we'd say give it back to the taxpayers. Let's give this money back to the workers that deserve it. That's a very conservative value. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeBobne. On that point, I want to remind folks that in last year's budget, we increased the amount of money spent on marketing and communication to workers so that they could be aware of the program. And I expect in this year's budget there'll be a proposal for a 3-year commitment to increase that amount of money. It came out of Budget Sub 4, which I chaired last year, and I think it'll continue. So I just wanted to highlight because it's on that point.
Yes, thank you.
And was there another comment by committee member, Ms. Grove?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just see. I think I'm there. I'm trying to get Ms. Gaines there. So, so I just want you to answer this question one more time. Under the federal law, small businesses under 50 are exempted from the funding part of it, or right?
So the
they get
federal
6
law,
weeks now.
The federal law and the federal law provides up to 12 weeks to bond with a new baby or take care of a relative with a serious illness. And
But they only get paid for 6.
They don't get paid. They get job protection. They're allowed to leave and then come back to the same job or a comparable job with the same benefits, pay, and so forth, right? So that's
California's law coincide. They get paid for 6 weeks.
It's 6 weeks, but there is no job protection for those 6 weeks.
But they're under the protection of the federal for the job protection.
If a business, if they work 1,250 hours in the prior 12 months. So you can be eligible for one, but not eligible for the other. So there's an exemption built. So say you're a worker. Let's take a typical a worker who works for a small business under 50 employees, and you want to take the California paid family leave law. There's no guarantee that you will come back to that job. There's no job protection for you to come back. So that's something you still have to work out with your employer. But they don't have to take you back. They're not covered under that particular law. So small businesses, if you're a worker at a small business with less than 50 employees and you apply to use the paid family leave law, which you qualify, that small business doesn't have to bring you back.
The concern that we have in small business is the workload. So if, say, an office has 3 employees and 2 of them take, up to 10 weeks off, I love the tiered thing. I think that the way it's paid out now is unevenly yoked, and I think that people that make lower wages should, it should be tiered, definitely. I love that part of it. The concern that I have, and this is the same one that Ms. Gaines has, is that if you have somebody that's out 6 weeks, you have to divide the workload with the other employees that you have in the office, make sure that everything is still taken care of and your business is still taken care of, but now you're extending that to 10 weeks.
But let me specifically add, you as a small, if they're going to take the leave, they can take the leave and apply for it and get their wages without you guaranteeing their job. So you can fill that position with somebody else.
Or,
right?
Yeah, I think the way that Assemblymember Gomez is describing it is true. It's what we have in California that can be complicated is that we have laws that protect your rights, give you the right to take the leave, and that just runs concurrently to FMLA, the CFRA. Paid family leave is not, it's a benefit. It basically is a benefit that you pay into and you can draw from. And one of the reasons that businesses like the small business majority and a lot of small businesses are actually very much in support of paid family leave is that it's this insurance that the employees can draw down on, but it's kind of negotiated. Their leave has to be sort of negotiated with their employer. So it's not so much that the employer would necessarily want to fire everybody, but for example, if just like requesting a vacation or something like that, there's a little bit of a negotiation there where you wouldn't say everybody could take a vacation all at the same time. And that's the way the law works now. And, you know, that if you're in a business of 50 or less, they don't have that same job protected right to take the leave when they, you know, for the same purposes. I don't know, does that clear it up, or is there more?
Let's not, let's, yeah, I think the question's been answered. Thank you very much. Thank you for elaborating. Ms. Gaines, did you have any additional questions or comments? All right. There are three folks who've been standing patiently. Are you all in support of the bill? All right. Your name and your organization for the record, please. All three are in support of this bill. Go ahead.
Sure. Mariko Yoshihara with the California Employment Lawyers Association. One other thing, I'm not sure if the study was mentioned by Ruth Milkman and Eileen Applebaum. Has that been mentioned? There was a study which showed overwhelmingly that this paid family leave did not have a negative impact. In fact, it had a positive impact on employers. And again, employers with 50 or less employees don't have to provide this leave. This is just a supplemental benefit for workers. So we strongly urge your support.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My name is Brandon Roberts. I'm on behalf of the Health Officers Association of California. The health officers have identified paid family leave as a key strategy in reducing early childhood health inequities, and we're standing in support.
Thank you, sir.
Kimberly Chen with the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, very much in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other folks from the audience who want to speak? If not, there's a motion and second to support the bill while Ms. Grove does her whip activity here. She'd like, and let's go ahead and vote.
Daley?
Aye.
Daley, aye. Beth Gaines?
Not voting, but looking forward to working on it.
That's not quite a whip. That's not quite.
Almost.
Travis Allen? Calderon? Aye. Calderon, aye. Cooley? Aye. Cooley, aye. Cooper? Aye. Cooper, aye. DeBobne? Aye. DeBobne, aye. Frazier? Aye. Frazier, aye. Gatto? Aye. Gatto, aye. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Gonzalez, aye. Grove?
Not voting, but working on it.
Mays?
No.
Mays, no. Rodriguez? Aye. Rodriguez, aye.
The bill has 9 affirmative votes. It's out. On to the next committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.